Good evening and welcome to the 2020 Lost Mariners Remembrance Ceremony presented at the Dossin Great Lakes Museum. This program is a co-production of the Detroit Historical Society and the Great Lakes Maritime Institute, known to its friends as GLMI. My name is Joel Stone, and I will be the host along with Phil Karras, president of GLMI tonight. Together we'll be taking care of getting the wreath to the river. Here's a surprise. While we have live streamed this event for well over a decade, this year is going to be a bit different. The professional mariners and friends from Canada are unable to join us, and frankly a couple of weeks ago we weren't sure, we were pretty unsure that many of you could join us here too. This has always been an intimate affair at the Dossin, but such close quarters intimacy is not possible these days. We did know that not having an event on November 10th was not an option. The date that the steamship Edmund Fitzgerald and her crew were overcome by Lake Superior has been an important day on our calendar for 45 years. To make this work, we decided to create a virtual event with most of the annual rituals intact, just not in person. The opening lantern ceremony is starting right now, and we'll proceed rather quickly to the Wreath Ceremony. Reverend Paul Woolley of Sarnia, who's been with us for many years, will offer our prayers for lost mariners virtually, and Lee Murdock has pre-recorded his traditional rendering of the famous Gordon Lightfoot song to close the short program. Afterwards, the fun. Lee Murdock came into town, a tradition unto himself at this gathering, and recorded a selections of songs and stories that will be following the Wreath Ceremony. Our featured historic presentation this year will be about the tragic Armistice Day storm of 1940, 80 years ago. Historian and founder of the Michigan Shipwreck Research Association, Valerie Van Heest, will explore the effects that this freak storm had on both commercial and recreational mariners. Both Lee and Valerie will follow the live portion tonight and will be available for viewing for a few weeks afterwards at the Dossin Maritime website. Presiding over tonight's lantern ceremony is the new president of the Great Lakes Maritime Institute, Mr. Phil Karras. GLMI has been supporting the Dossin Museum since it opened in 1960 and is responsible for both the anchor behind us and the pilot house of the William Clay Ford, the ship that left Whitefish Bay to find the stricken Fitzgerald to no avail. Phil.
Thank you. Good evening. It was 45 years ago this evening that the Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior. Just a year earlier, she lost an anchor downriver from here. In 1993, GLMI and scores of volunteers and donors, their names listed here, recovered it as a permanent memorial to the ship and the 29 men who went down with her. Every year we light lanterns to their memories. This year the anchor sits in the new Lost Mariners Memorial on the museum grounds, and each man's name is permanently set into this memorial. We'll take a moment to reflect on these and the many mariners that have given the ultimate measure on the lakes. In a change from our usual program, we will transition to our wreath ceremony now. In this tradition, started 25 years ago tonight, a wreath with 30 roses, 29 for the men on the Fitz, and 1 for all the other mariners lost to the lakes, will be escorted to the river by our honor guard and placed in the river by a crew from the United States Coast Guard stationed Belle Isle. We are honored to have Captain Brad Kelly, commanding officer of the U.S. Coast Guard Sector Detroit, and Captain Luke Clyburn of the Noble Odyssey Foundation and skipper of the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps Pride of Michigan Training Vessel, to escort our wreath to the river. We are also joined by Mike Nall and Chris Stevens, captains from the International Shipmasters Detroit Lodge number 7. Escorts on the water include the mailboat JW WESTCOTT II and the Detroit Fire Department's fireboats Curtis Randolph and SIVAD Johnson, each named for a man who died while doing his duty. Pipers, lead on.
This has been a most spiritual and reflective evening. It has been an evening of remembering of the world of mariners and their vessels, and of the tragedies that have happened on the Great Lakes and the rivers of North America. And I mention this as I stand next to the bronze marker remembering the great storm of 1913. In that way, what we remember is well symbolized by roses, flowers of great beauty, but containing stems covered with sharp and painful thorns. Tonight we remember great beauty of life, even though in the midst of that, we also remember the pain and the grief of all those who never returned home. Every mariner who steps on board a vessel is aware of the risk that they take. In remembering them, we honor their maritime values and traditions. And we must keep these traditions alive as we keep our memories of these sailors alive. In many cultures, November is the month of the dead, a time when those who have passed from this life to the next are remembered. This is in part because the Christian celebration of All Saints' Day falls on the 1st of November, the day after Halloween. And the saints that are celebrated are not just the saints that end up depicted in the stained glass windows of cathedrals and great churches, but believers past and present, those alive and those who have passed into eternity. So we think not only of those who have passed, but we share our concerns for those that sail upon the waters today and in the future. So in some way, those who are lost at sea are in fact not lost, but are with us in that great mystery of present life and eternal life. And this night of honoring and remembering them makes them close to us in our hearts and in our minds. And this can give us peace. And it is peace that we search for in this life. So this night, I pray that you may have peace and be blessed.
The legend is on from the chip on down of the big lake they call Kitchigumi. The lake that said never gives up her dead when the skies in November turn gloomy. With the load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed in a lead. But that good ship and crew were born to be true when the gales of November come early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. And as big freighters go, she was bigger than most, with a good crew and captain well seasoned, concluding some terms with a couple of steel firms when she left for and later that night when that ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feeling? The wind in the wires made a telltale sound as the wind broke over the railing, and every man knew as the captain did too, 'cause the witch in November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait, when the gales of November came slushing. When afternoon came, it poured freezing rain in the face of a hurricane west wind. When supper time came, the old cook came on deck, said, "Fellas, it's too rough to feed you." Then at 7 p.m., a roadway came in. He cried, "Fellas, it's been good to know you." Then the captain wired in, he had water coming in, and his good ship and crew was in peril. And later that night, when the ship's lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. when the waves turn the minutes to hours. The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they put 15 more miles behind her. She might have split up, or she might have capsized, or she might have broke deep and took water. But all that remains are the faces and the names of the wives, the sons, and the daughters. Lake Huron Rose Superior sings, and the robes are ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams. Her islands and bays are for sportsmen. Then farther below Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go, as the mariners all know, with the gales of November. Remember. In Rustic Old Hall in Detroit they pray at the Maritime Singers Cathedral, and the church bell chimed until it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. So the legend lives on through the ship on down of the big lake they call Gitchagoo. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November are burning.
We should especially recognize the participation of the new Detroit Fire Department's Fast Response Fireboat. It was recently named for Detroit firefighter Sergeant SIVAD Johnson, a 26-year veteran who perished while off duty in August, saving 3 swimmers right here on Belle Isle. It is an honor to have this vessel participate, and we extend our thoughts to his family. We would also like to recognize those people of the Canadian maritime community who were not able to join us due to current border restrictions. They include Captain Sandy Ryerson of the Canadian Coast Guard and the cutter Cape Dundas, Commander Glenn Miller of the Ontario Provincial Police Marine Division, Sergeant Tim Diebel of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Shipwrighter Program, and Peter Barry of the Windsor Port Authority. Our sponsors for this evening are Jim Weekly and the Lake Carriers Association, as well as the International Shipmasters Association, Detroit Lodge 7.